My name is Cristina Graziano. I am the Vice President of Enterprise Business Development, so basically focused on all things growth across all of our Taylor United brands. I love the question of who are you, and it's something I've been thinking about a lot because I think sometimes we just answer with what we do for a living. I am a friend, I am a wife, I am a lot of fun, and I live in Wayne, New Jersey, which is a suburb outside of New York City. I have two brothers. I am the middle child, but I think because I'm the middle only girl, I probably evaded a little bit of that middle child syndrome, and have had a really wonderful life up until this point. Still live in Wayne, New Jersey with my husband and our senior dog, Roscoe. Growing up for me was simple. You know, we had a great family. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. My dad was an entrepreneur. So he had a lot of different things that he did over the years, starting his own businesses. He was very into sales and sales training for a time, was a Dale Carnegie instructor. So my dad worked hard, but he was very present with us, and continues to be one of my best friends. And same goes for my mom. So she was a stay-at-home mom. We didn't have a ton, but we had everything that we needed. And a lot of my memories growing up were just simple things like, we didn't go to Disney. I wasn't on a plane until I was 16 years old when a friend took me. We didn't go to concerts or sporting events, but we would go out for pizza on a Friday night as a family. We would do, crafts at home. I'd be outside getting my, knees scraped up with my brothers, and trying to be one of the boys, but also playing Barbie dolls at home. So it was simple, doing perler beads and pot holders and crafts and all kinds of things like that, but a lot of fun. And I think until I got a little bit older, I didn't know any different, really. I am very close with my family. So there are some people that say, I see my parents a couple times a month, a couple times a year. I talk to my parents, if not every day, close to it. How is family defined? For me, I didn't have a huge family growing up, and I didn't have a sister, which was something that I always wanted. So I think as a result of that, I've kind of adopted a whole extended family of friends that, are kind of there for you no matter what. And it's been really special. Family was super important. Friends were really important. But, resilience, I think is something that, that kind of roll with the punches, don't complain, go with the flow. That's been something that's kind of carried forth from childhood into life today. My grandfather and my grandmother on my mom's side were two of the most important people to me. And my grandfather, some of the lessons I learned from him really guide me to this day. My grandmother was actually a paranoid schizophrenic. So I didn't experience it quite like my parents did, but certainly growing up with a mother that had that kind of mental illness shaped who my mom was, and a lot of things in our family. And it's interesting because growing up, my grandmother was one of my absolute favorite people. There was not a judgmental bone in her body. And I remember, with my other grandmother, she was wonderful, but there were times that it'd be like, Cristina, you're being annoying. Cristina, kind of like be seen, not heard kind of thing. And she was wonderful, so it doesn't take anything away from her. But my grandmother on the campy side, my mom's side, she was just so warm. And no matter what, I just remember snuggling with her and just feeling like nothing mattered, right? Like it was pure unconditional love. And I think I've learned from, sometimes we'd get silly voicemails where she'd be singing a song. And only later did I learn that that was an episode, right, where she wasn't well. But as a child, you don't know a lot of that, right? Or when we'd be at a family party and she'd be a little bit, withdrawn or secluded. And as I got older, I started to observe things like people dismissing her or minimizing her or not giving her the respect of that any human really deserves. And I think that's shaped a lot of it. Makes me emotional because there's certain movies that I can't watch because of seeing things like that. But it's shaped a lot of, I think, the empathy I have for people and the importance of obviously mental health awareness and stuff, but just treating people with respect and dignity and that being important. Flip to my grandfather. So he was 42 when he and my grandmother got married. He did not know about her mental health issues when they met. He stuck by her side, and it was not easy. He was born in Italy. He migrated here to the United States, to New York, with his family when I believe he was 7 years old. So a first-generation American, a stonemason that didn't make a lot of money but managed to do a lot and give my mom and my aunt a really good life and take really good care of my grandmother as well. So that taught me a lot about, what it means to, be loyal and, the commitment that you make to people, to somebody when you say that you're going to spend your life together and that sometimes it's good, sometimes it's hard. But, I don't think he would have ever said he regretted anything. And he lived to 105 years old. He was 101, I believe, when I got engaged. And he was starting to have some real health issues. He was pretty healthy up until that point. And it seemed like we might lose him, and he managed to pull through after having a heart event and getting a pacemaker put in. And I remember on I think it was his 101st birthday, he said his one wish was to be at my wedding. And he was, and we got to dance together, and he was just beaming with pride the entire day and evening. That's a super special memory, but the things that he taught me was just that, the commitment, always do your best. Like he really, anytime he heard a situation where, maybe you cut a corner or, you didn't give something your all, that was when he was disappointed. And his disappointment was it was like daggers. So they were both really important, and taught me a lot of lessons that I carry through with me today. Probably the most notable part of my high school career was I started working my freshman year of high school at 13 years old. I worked at an Italian restaurant in town. I was what they referred to as a phone girl, and what that means is, I answered the phone when people called in for their pizza and food orders, and I placed their orders, and packaged them up and handed them off when people would come in to pick them up. My parents were quite strict, so being, a 14-year-old starting high school, because I was a little young for my grade, I had a lot of different rules than most of my friends did. I wasn't allowed to go to parties. I wasn't, my curfew was quite early. Spending time at that Italian restaurant kind of became socialization for me. I didn't lean heavily into sports. My hand-eye coordination leaves very little to be desired. I did play field hockey my freshman year of high school because my mom said you have to do a sport. You have to do something extracurricular. I was good, I was aggressive, and I enjoyed it, but really I wanted to make money. My brothers and I had everything we needed, but we did not, there were things I wanted, and anything that I wanted, I needed to be prepared to buy myself. So I think there was a certain lifestyle that I admired and wanted to have, and I guess at an early age I knew that if I was going to have that, I was going to have to work for it. I don't think I've had a gap in work since. I went directly from, that job at the Italian restaurant all through my high school and college career. I did graduate to waitressing, so I didn't remain a phone girl for the whole time. And then in college, I did that along with working as a, like a kind of like assistant to the business program at my university. And then that rolled right into, kind of where I am today. So high school was a lot of fun. And a lot of that fun was time spent working, which is kind of interesting because I still have a lot of my fun spent with working today. My parents wouldn't let me have a TV in my bedroom, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but at the time I was like, I want to have a TV in my bedroom. Like, it was important to me. And I didn't understand it. I thought it was silly. So it was one of those situations where I'm like, I work, I have money, and that is independence, right? And one evening after work, girl Kim that I got to be really good friends with, she was several years older than me, so she had a car. I said, hey, before you drive me home, would it be possible to stop off at Kmart? Because I want to buy a TV. She drove me over to Kmart, walked in, we went in together. I came out with a Hisense 19-inch TV. She brought me into the driveway, I took it out of the trunk, I walked into my parents' house, and they look at me with this big box coming in, and I was like, I bought myself a TV and I don't want to hear anything about it. And I walked into my room and I plugged it in. And in that moment, it was kind of interesting because I thought that my parents were gonna like freak out, I'd be grounded, it'd be the end of the world. And I think that they almost had like a healthy respect for the fact that, you worked for this, you're earning money, and you know what? Okay, Cristina, like you can have your TV. I think I've always looked at, I want to earn money because if I earn money, I have independence and I can start calling some of my own shots. I went to William Patterson University in Wayne, New Jersey, where I live today. So I didn't go very far. And it's actually the only college that I applied to because of a sales program that they had. I was a major in public relations, and I minored in professional sales. So I decided to do the minor in professional sales because I didn't have to take as many math classes, if we're being totally honest. And that was where I had the Bachelor's of Arts with public relations. But also because the coursework just really interested me. At the time, I didn't know exactly where I would go. Would I, get into kind of like more of the world of media and go the route of PR, or would I go the route of, professional selling? My sales classes were, learning about negotiation and, understanding sales strategy, working with business owners that would come in and do role playing with us. So it was really hands-on, and that was the kind of thing that I was really geared towards and I excelled in. Much more than the, book reports and, kind of like real academic side of things. So my college career at William Patterson, at the time, my dad went there as well. So it was kind of like, I'd always heard about that growing up. That's how we ended up in Wayne, New Jersey, because that's where he went to school. But growing up, I always we drove through it all the time. I saw it, and I always thought, I'm not gonna end up there, right? It's like the local school in town. But it ended up being the absolute perfect place for me, and taught me so much that I still use today. My freshman year of college was when I first really got to know my husband. We were from the same town. He was 4.5 years older than me, so we were not in school together. But he had went to Muhlenberg College down in Pennsylvania, and he just graduated and he was back. He started working at Smith Barney. I was a freshman at William Patterson, and my friend Melvin, we'll call him, brought me to lunch one day to go visit Brad at work. And from there, we became friends, started spending time together, and later started dating. He was my first serious boyfriend. We dated for 8 years before we ultimately got married, much to our families. Our families, they wished it would have been accelerated, but I like to say all good things take time. So we dated for 8 years, then we got married, and we have, our dog Roscoe. We adopt senior dogs. So we had adopted Roscoe and Tiffany about 3 years ago. We lost Tiffany in January, and we have Roscoe still. So he's kind of like our little baby, if you will. While I was at William Patterson, I actually started my career with Taylor by way of the Standard Register acquisition. So while I was in my sales classes, I met a couple of really influential professors for me. One was Dr. Peterson and the other was Tim Workley. And they really leaned in on my career, and I was selected to attend a sales challenge that was down at Kennesaw State University in Atlanta area in Georgia. And I was one of 2 people that went to represent our sales program, where we competed. It was like a sell-a-thon. And I don't remember if I placed in that or not, but what I do remember is that it was a super fun experience. It was incredibly rewarding, and it's where I met Standard Register. I attended a beer and bowling night that they hosted, and met several different companies there, made a lot of really good connections. And when I came back to New Jersey, I got a phone call from a sales manager at Jeff Blank, a sales manager at Standard Register, that said, "Hey, Cristina, I think you met Brad Cates and I think it was Sam Arrigo down at the Kennesaw State Sales Challenge. I'd love, I heard great things about you. I'd love for you to come in to Springfield for an interview." I had no idea what Standard Register did, and I'm embarrassed to say it because I spent some time on the website, which maybe was indicative of the website maybe not telling the story as well as it should have, or just me not being super exposed to the world of print and graphics communications. I remember I sat down and he asked me the question, "Do you know what we do?" And I said, candidly, not really. I said, I spent some time on the website. I said, I think I have a little bit of an idea, right? I see you do like check solutions and things like that, but I don't know a whole lot about what you do. And he said, "That's totally fine." And he's like, you don't need to know about what we do, but he gave me the whole rundown. And that was really where my career began. That was about 18 years ago now. And Jeff actually was the sales manager for Frank Spedavecchia, who remains here today. So they really gave me my start, and Frank is regional vice president for our new Northeast division, and remains one of my most the people I work most closely with as a colleague, and is one of those people that are family to me that I mentioned early on. So I was working that summer at an office we had in Springfield, New Jersey, and also New York City. So I got exposure to New York that I really didn't have much of growing up. And it was just such a cool experience getting to, really learn firsthand. There was, I think, a few interns that summer. I was the only one that, remained. So I did really well with it and had a ton of fun. And that's where I think, I am certainly a little bit of an adrenaline junkie. And I think that a career of sales scratches that itch in ways that not many things could. And then at the end of that summer, Frank reached out and he said, "Hey, Cristina, we'd really love for you to stay on. Don't care, it doesn't have to be, I know you have a semester of school. You can come whenever, right? Come as you can. If it's one day a week, if it's twice a week, if it doesn't work out that week." And that's what we did. And I continued the sales internship through the rest of my college career, and had an offer for when I graduated. Before I graduated, so I started the May right after. I started actually the June right after graduation. I've been super lucky over my career to have, mentors and sponsors and people that saw things in me that I didn't see in myself up front. I look at, the opportunities that I've had throughout my career when I was, from sales intern to then moving into my own assignment, managing a book of business, I quickly learned that I could do that, but it wasn't my strength. The kind of like the monotony of the day-to-day and the, okay, did you get your order? That didn't give me energy. What did give me energy, and probably that adrenaline rush, was like the hunt, going and finding something new, figuring out what was the challenge that somebody had to solve and how can we make that happen. That was really where, I got energy, and I think I was at my best. When I got tapped on the shoulder in 2017, our team was growing, and my boss at the time had come to me and said, hey, we're expanding business development. This was once I had, I was a business development manager for myself for about 5 years. And he had said, hey, we're thinking about expanding the team, and we'd like to have a broader East base. Would you be interested in a leadership position? I had just turned 30, and talk about imposter syndrome. I was like a leader. I hadn't really, I'd thought about it at times, right? But I hadn't thought about it in terms of, that being a path for me, especially at that point in my life, right? But I am somebody who likes to lean in, and I thought, say yes. So I leaned in, I said yes, and it was the best decision I think I've ever made, because I learned a lot about myself and had a lot of insecurities early on, because there was all these people starting as an intern, and Taylor having the tenure that it has. So many of the people that I came up admiring and just idolizing and thinking, were just so incredible, some of them were going to be reporting to me. Like, what? I was like, why would they listen to me? And that whole experience was really a cool one, because I think the confidence that I gained in, okay, you're going to be really uncomfortable, you're going to step into this, and how do you tell somebody that's been doing this for as long as you've been alive that, how do you add value, right? And I think what was really cool is I looked at it as, okay, I'm your partner, I'm not your boss. And I'm gonna learn so much from you, and maybe you'll learn something from me. But what I found was everybody was so embracing that it almost taught me, and as I spent more time with people, you start realizing that nobody has things all figured out. And some of the questions that came to me, I would have assumed, it became clear that, okay, this is why I'm here. This is why they tapped me for this, because I have something really special to contribute. And, I quickly realized there wasn't one person on my team that, ever challenged the fact that it was a valuable partnership between us. So it taught me a lot about, age doesn't matter. And we all have a lot to learn from one another. And every single person on my team, I learn from every single day, probably more than they learn from me. But, it's kind of taught me a lot about that kind of servant leadership mindset, and that people, if they know that you're on their team and you want the best for them and you're going to fight for them and do what's right, they'll follow you and get behind you, regardless of whether you think that they should think that, you're important enough or experienced enough or, have the street cred to do so. A lot of people have asked, what keeps you here? And I almost left twice throughout the course of my career. Both times that I almost left were definitely for the wrong reasons. The first time I almost left, I had a new leader that, I wasn't feeling as empowered and supported by. And the second time, and actually that first time that I almost left, I never even resigned. I was looking because I didn't, something just felt off. And what I ended up finding and initially accepting, there was an interesting experience I had when I got together with that hiring manager at the company right before I was ready to kind of tender my resignation. And I saw something that I was like, it doesn't seem like a leader that's going to be supportive of their people, because he had been talking about the fact that, the time he was spending with his top performer, and he was complaining about somebody else on his team. And I thought, it seemed like a great company, seemed like a neat opportunity, but the fact that he's complaining to me about somebody on his team tells me all I need to know. Like, this isn't going to be the right move. So that time, I was actually very thankful in hindsight. I never ended up resigning, and everything worked itself out from a people and leadership perspective, and I had some really amazing years after that. The second time that I actually did resign, I did so for financial reasons, really. I wasn't feeling like I had the ability to continue earning. I found another role, and it was with a company that did legal servicing in New York City. So I would have been working in the city, 5 days a week. It was significantly more money, and I did resign. And Taylor came back with a counteroffer, and I put a lot of thought into that. I thought about the offer, I thought about the financial side of things, what that would do for me, for my family at the time, and what ultimately made the decision, aside from the fact that it helped to bring me to where I felt like I should be at that point in my career, because sometimes you just move with things and you don't move up as quickly as you maybe would like or should from a financial perspective. Sometimes that happens. But what was really something that kept me inspired with Taylor is that I would have been leaving for a position, and it might have actually still been standard register at the time when I almost left. I was about to take on a role that I was thinking about, what does the sales process look like? And what I love is I love professional selling. And I feel pride in that role because I don't have a product that I'm trying to push on somebody. I'm solving problems. I'm meeting with business leaders. I'm understanding their perspective, the situation. I'm working with my team, right, to do so now. But the role that I was going to be taking was a lot more like, okay, this is what we can do for you, buying lunches, hosting dinners. And I just felt like I'm going to shrink in that role. Like, that's not going to be mentally challenging in the way that my current role is mentally challenging. And that's really what's kept me, I think, in this business. As much as I may not have grown up and thought, man, I'm going to sell graphic services one day. And, I didn't think print was sexy. I get excited about it now, right? And I can't go to a store without seeing things in a whole new way. And my mailbox, I'm smelling things as they come out of the mail. So I am in it, but it's not the print that gets me excited. It's the solving real business challenges with all the different solutions that we have to offer. And now the passion that I bring around my team that, really keeps me engaged. And I would be remiss to say the people, because Taylor has some of the best people that I think you can work with. Our culture, customers of ours, note it, right? They say, there's just something special about the people. I've had new people that start on our team that say, wow, I haven't met any jerks at Taylor. And I'm like, I'm sure you'll find one. But it's hard because, it's people that work hard together, have fun together, care about one another, care about the organization. And I think that's when your best work happens. And it's a lot easier to do the work that we do and work as hard as we work when you're doing it with, people that you care about and can collaborate with, and, we're all kind of rowing in the same direction. For fun, Brad and I, we both travel quite a bit for work. He's on the road a lot, I'm on the road a lot. So we both have a lot of time together and a lot of time independently, which I think has been good for us. And we love travel, even though we both live in the town where we grew up, which was not our goal. But just seem to work out and work out very well. And then we love, just nights in as well. I really like to cook. Don't do it as much as I'd like because it's time consuming with the cleaning and everything. It'd be so nice to have someone to do that. But I like to cook. We will cook a little bit together at times. But we love to just kind of like curl up on the couch, watch a movie, catch the latest series of, a TV show. And, I feel like day to day, things are pretty simple. Walks with our dog, hikes. We like camping, don't do enough of it, but we've got kind of like a long bucket list of things that, that we will do as we have time. Pilates is something that, it's my outlet for exercise, but it's also become an absolute passion. I got certified in 2021 to be a Pilates instructor or teacher, as they call it. I have not used it, so I don't actually teach now, but I do aspire someday to own a studio. Maybe that'll be my retirement plan someday. And I just love it. It's something that's helped my mental health. It keeps me, gives me energy, keeps me in shape. So I keep going with continuing education and spending time just deepening my practice there is something I've really enjoyed. Also, kind of carrying forward the special relationship I have with my dad. We started a podcast back in 2021. It's called Morning Coffee and Mimosas. My dad is the coffee inspiration, me the mimosa, and during that time, we were recording every single week. And it started because as things were slower, I would go do their food shopping for them on the weekends. I'd come over Sunday with groceries in hand. They'd make me breakfast. And then, my dad is a leader at a credit union, and myself as a leader in my business. We just started, within Taylor, we just started to kind of like, over breakfast, we'd be talking about things that were going on, experiences we were having. And one morning, and my mom was always part of that as well. And then one morning, we were kind of like, I think he actually was saying he wanted to do a podcast. And I was like, that would be fun. What about if we did it together? And that's how it started. So, we have, I think we've done like 107 or so episodes now. Now we've moved to more of a monthly cadence. But it's a lot of fun. We talk about, business topics, life topics, and it's something that I've really enjoyed to do. And it's also been interesting because I love talking about Taylor, the organization, my team. Talking about myself was never as comfortable for me. This is a little uncomfortable for me. And the podcast being, my opinions, his opinions, and kind of like the natural riff and banter that we have, kind of like me mostly making, jabs at him in good nature. It's been a really good experience that I would say stretched my capacity in new ways to kind of put myself out there in a vulnerable way, which has been a lot of fun. Probably the most rewarding thing that I've had the opportunity to do in my time at Taylor has been the work that I've gotten to do in being a founding member and being able to shape and grow our Women of Taylor employee resource group. It came about from an idea that Sam Supir, who was a mentee of mine at a time, is a super close friend now and partner in really helping develop this with a couple of other women across the organization. Tabitha Willis, Denise Lemire before she left us, and Terry Taylor. It's been really special to create this group that came again at a time when we were in 2020, 2021, when people were disconnected and struggling a little bit to connect. We created this proof of concept at the time in 2021 that was 89 women deep. And now today in 2025, we have over 600 members. That's probably been one of the most rewarding areas of my career to date. Just getting to see the impact that it's made on retention within the organization, and hearing from people that are members that say, I was having a really rough time, and my connections at Women of Taylor carried me through that. Or, you know, I was going through something tough in the business, and having this group kept me engaged. And, you know, or the experience I got from that, you know, presenter at the event really changed my perspective and gave me a renewed passion for what I do every day. I have 600 plus great friends throughout the organization, and it just makes working so much more fun and easy when you've got, you know, oh, I know you because, you know, we're both Women of Taylor, and, you know, we connect on this, right? So that's been really special. I think for me, the gift of curiosity and just hunger to always learn and understand people has been part of the gift that's made me successful. And I think a healthy dose of curiosity is invaluable as you go through your career, and never feeling like you know it all and keeping your ego at bay. I don't care what I do. I refuse to ever have an ego. I refuse to ever think who I am is important or have a self-importance. It's one of the things that I think is most important to me remaining who I am. You don't get a participation trophy. And I don't say that to sound, you know, to sound harsh, but I say it because we can have a lot of fun here. We should have a lot of fun, but we have a job to do, and that's how the company is successful. So I always encourage people, lean in. And if you're an intern, be the absolute best intern. Understand what is successful. If you don't know, ask, because anybody will be willing to help you define that. And then be the best. And don't be the best in competition with the guy next to you or the girl next to you. Be the best version of yourself. And that goes back to my grandfather, you know, always do your best. That was his saying. And don't expect things to just drop at your doorstep, right? If you work hard, build your network, show up, ask people how you can help, opportunities will develop, right? But don't expect, I've been in the seat for 6 months, so now I should move to the next thing. And don't be tracking your path with somebody else's, because everybody is unique. I just think that's so important, because sometimes people feel like, well, I've been doing this for 9 months, and because I've been doing it for 9 months, I should be on to the next thing. And that's not how it works. You know, there's what do you need to do to be successful, and then do it the absolute best that you can, and good things will come.